Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in the USA on the West Coast and the East Coast, if you're in Europe, where a couple of our listeners are, as well as a couple of SMB Nation stakeholders, for example, Jay McBain, who's a frequent guest, is actually in Germany right now. So happy early evening to Jay McBain. And then finally, Carl, my friends and yours over in Australia, why don't we both offer them a good morning over in Australia. We are here for the ongoing series, our academic series, Tech Talk, graciously supported by Fortinet. If you're new to our series, this is, it's like college. We have winter, spring, summer, fall with real content. And we have well-behaved sponsors that have been trained, and it's akin to National Public Radio and Public TV, where they graciously underwrite our efforts. And they understand, you know, without them, we're not on the air. So if you could give them the love they deserve, we're going to talk about Fortinet a little bit later. We are here to talk about MSP marketing, and this is an update. So we have had this lecture in prior quarters. What's interesting is, we all went away and developed new content, and we brought a new speaker on, Kat, who, let's just get right to those introductions, who is going to talk about Instagram. So, folks, quickly, Kevin, take a minute to introduce yourself, followed by Carl, and followed by Kat. Kevin, go.
Kevin Hunter here on Northwest Digital News. We broadcast a Tech Tuesday, which involves Harry Brailsford here on the broadcast. Longtime YouTuber, been involved in media for a little over 20 years. So I'll hope to give you some feedback here today on creating successful video on YouTube online.
And Kevin, a shout out to you. Can you see this on the camera, Kevin? Can you see my U.S. press pass from
Yes,
US
I do.
Okay. Shout out to you for helping me get accredited as a member of the U.S. Press Corps. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. So I'm looking forward to future White House brief. No, I'm not. Let's not go there. Carl Palachek, please introduce yourself. And sir, where are you today? I believe you're at one of our industry shows.
Yeah, I'm in Anaheim at the ASCII show, which will start in half an hour or so. So I'm with Small Biz Thoughts, and I'm an author of several books, and try to always contribute to the community whenever I can.
Yes, sir. And you're well on your way to being known as Mr. MSP. Carl, be careful with that. Be careful with that, because I'm still called Mr. SBS. And being typecast as an actor in Hollywood has its pluses and minuses.
I'll take my chances.
And then new to the team is Kat Zomer. So Kat is the daughter of our longtime list broker, data analytics dude, Andre Somers at AMZ Productions on Bainbridge Island. We've worked with him for darn near 20 years. So Kat, I mean, you must have been a kid, of course, when we started working with your father. Please introduce yourself, and where are you today?
So today I am based just outside of Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley in Van Nuys. Yeah, I've been ingrained in the marketing world since I was a little kid. Both of my parents are in some form of marketing, and so now I'm kind of following in their footsteps, but with my own flair. I specialize in Instagram marketing. I started a food blog at Kitty Cat Health on Instagram, and I grew it. I started in September of 2017, started taking it seriously in March of 2018, and then organically grew it from 200 followers to, I believe as of this morning, I was at 10,232 followers, all organically, no paid, no nothing. And so I kind of became an Instagram expert.
Excellent. All right, so a couple of updates as we always like to do. Again, shout out to Fortinet at the bottom of the page, as you can see, and please use the questions feature on your control panel. Jennifer Hallmark over in the radio control room will, Jenny, please interrupt today, and she'll ask the questions. couple of updates. If you go to smbnation.com, you're going to see several installments of my 5 days last week at IBM Think. I go every year. I get my analytical go juice. They're doing some really, really good primary research. A next industry show, which unfortunately I'm not able to attend, but Carl, if you want to take a second to talk about Channel Pro Atlanta in early March, sir, you have a pre-day. Give us a little bit of visibility into Channel Pro Atlanta.
So I'm doing an event the day before Channel Pro, so March 5th. I'm putting together a combination, and of course, I don't have the names in front of me, but Amy Babanchek, my brother Manuel, Eric Simpson. I've got like 5 speakers lined up, and we're all going to talk about how to make money in 2019. So, that's always the big question. How do we actually make money? Because intellectual thought is delightful, but at the end of the day, we have to pay our rent. And then Channel Pro is the 6th, and that is, of course, an all-day event in Atlanta. And Channel Pro brings up, obviously, a variety of speakers, and they always have a really good vendor hall and all that. So if you haven't been to a Channel Pro event, I recommend that you sign up for one. And certainly if you're anywhere within a couple of states of Georgia, head over to the Atlanta show.
Yep. And Carl, I'm going to help you frame up the popularity of money. My friend and yours, and Kevin Hunter knows him too, Brian Livingston, the world-famous author of Windows Secrets in the 1990s, he is now doing muscular portfolios on financial technology stuff. And Kevin and I interviewed him, and we asked him why. And he said, you know what? Money is even more popular than Windows. So there you go, Carl. Wish you well on your show. Ingram Cloud, folks, I'll be at Ingram Cloud, I believe, right around March 9th, 10th, 11th in San Diego, if you want to get together then. And then what I'm really excited about is South by Southwest in Austin in mid-March. I'll be there. Love to see about 300,000 people. Love to see you there. And I am releasing a new book at South by Southwest, and I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Kevin Hunter, sir, let's have you chat. I know that you have a little bit of time compression in your schedule today, so thank you for being with us. Kevin, how would you like to talk? At some level, we can revisit the conversation we had last summer when we talked about YouTube-isms. Kevin, I'm going to give you the talking stick and just talk to us about YouTube for marketing.
Well, it's an interesting thing in terms of, and I'm sure Kat will have plenty to offer on this as well on the social media side and what she's doing with the Instagram. But there's a unlearning process that business people of today have to go through to figure out how to market online, and then a relearning process they have to go through. And let me explain why. All the things that you typically deployed with radio, TV, newspaper, print, flyers, et cetera. Those forms of what you think about as advertising that were done in businesses typically. You have to approach the web with a completely different thought process because, I'm sure every one of us, I've been on the internet many times today already. There's not a single time that I went to the web hoping that I would run into an advertisement and somebody would sell me something. I went to the web to be educated, informed, or entertained, or find news, whatever. But it was always that, think of it kind of fitting underneath the umbrella of information. And one of the things that not long ago, I was actually in a webinar with a lot of other YouTube creators like myself. And these were all creators who have, the minimum was 25,000 subs you had to have on your channels to be a part of this. And one of the things in the beginning, there was this survey. And how do you rank these various forms of content on the web? And interestingly enough, out of 50 different creators, 100% ranked tutorial how-to as the top content on the web. Okay, there wasn't anybody who put it down lower. It was number one. And you go, okay, why? For all of those reasons that I just said. People are visiting the web to be educated, informed, entertained, kind of in a nutshell. So one of the things that I really like about video in particular is that if you have that in mind when you go on the web, And then you start thinking about all the things that video can offer you. What are some of the learning types that we're touching on here today? One of them obviously is a visual learning style. For some people, video is the best, obviously, for a visual. But in video, I can touch the oral learning skills. I can touch verbal learning skills. I can touch kinesthetics learning skills, logical, even in the social and solitary learning skills. So when you start looking at all those different ways of learning that people have, all of us lead with one of those, and that's where we start from. But we have secondaries, and our second strongest, third strongest, fourth strongest. So the thing is that a really, really well done video doesn't just take into consideration of helping educate, inform, and or entertain somebody, but it takes into consideration how many of the learning styles can I hit in one presentation. And the reason why that's really important is that, maybe my learning style is visual, number one. Kyle's might be verbal, number two. Harry, you might like to read, number three. But if I have
hands-on, I like hands-on.
There you go, a kinesthetic learner. So if I am able to touch a number of those learning skills in my video presentation, all three of us watch the same video and we go, wow, that I really got a lot out of that. And you might say, because from what Kevin showed me how to do, I might say because of how easy it was to understand the visual presentation, and Kyle might say it's because of what I heard. But we aren't necessarily locking into that per se. It's just that video gives you a chance to lock into so many different learning styles. So just a few things that this actually goes to a point that Kat made when she was even talking about developing Instagram and where she's at today. And she said, I got there without buying any of this following. And this is what I'd say with regard to YouTube. There's a lot of people that are tempted to buy things like subscribers or likes or comments or views, all that sort of thing. And one of the things I can tell you is that the algorithms in YouTube are so dang good. You do that once and watch everything on your channel slide for like 30 days. Do it again and watch everything start to tank even further. You do that enough times and you'll disappear off of, not only will they get rid of you as a provider out there, but your stuff will just completely disappear. So you wonder why, hey, I bought this 1,000 views and now this thing will just really, no, it actually just dies on the vine. You're 6 months later and you're at 1,004 views and you're going, whoops, a little miscalculation there. So I'd say, no, focus on what I said initially, realize that you have to educate, inform, entertain, and then tie into as many learning styles as you possibly can. Now, This goes to the story itself. Start by researching stuff that is already working out there. There's so many different ways that you can do this, but research the stuff that is already blowing up. If there's something that you feel really passionate about, and you do a search on it and you get 3 returns on a Google search, and then you actually look into what's there and you see that 400 people looked at it over the last 12 years, you're probably missing the mark. But if you go to do a search around a given kind of subject and you get millions of returns, and then you look at some of the top stuff that's out there and there's 500,000 or 100,000 views or 1 million or 5 million, you know what? Don't feel intimidated by competing with the big guy who's there. Piggyback right on a success. Take your story, write your own version of it, and you know what? Even in your description boxes that you put up on if you're putting up a YouTube video, you can write right in the description box. If you've seen Carl Palachek's tips on investing, you're going to love my video. Go ahead and take that title that's just screaming on the web and refer to it right in your description box. Okay? Just do it shamelessly. But at least make sure that your content has something to do with this other piece that's there, or the viewer who saw it before might be interested in it. But those kinds of things can help drive you up in visibility on the web. Here's another really, really important thing. So, I've been doing this stuff for a long, long time. And, I can turn on a microphone and the military used to call this doing things hip pocket. There's a lot of people who are turn on a microphone and turn on a camera and just wing it. And you watch them with what they're doing, and you can tell they are doing that from beginning to end. And as good as I am at doing what I do, I not only research the subject, but then I write a script for it. I take those bullet points and stuff like that, put that up behind my camera. I think about what's my hook? What am I really trying to draw people into this whole thing? The other part of it is I'm trying to write what I refer to as a timeless message. And why is that important? I have content, you guys, that posted many, many years ago on the web that are doing better today than they did the first year they were up, and it was already a viral video back then. And you're going, how in the heck did a 9-year-old message, how is it continuing to build momentum? Well, it's increasing in ranking all the time. Its views continue to go up. One of the story examples, I could give out there was actually a video that I created that, in my opinion, is amateur in terms of its professional creation, its production, everything else. But the video's sitting at 3.5 million views. It generates anywhere from, on a slow day, 7,800 views a day right now, to I've had days that it'll hit 30, 40,000 because it's screaming on a weekend, and you're going, wow, really? That's a message you did 7 years ago? Heck yeah. It's because I gave consideration to what's really the premise around this. So if you think about, just to use the example, investing, being that I used it before, the kinds of products you might invest in might be different. How the rates on things might be different. The earnings on things might be different. But if you look at investment, and Carl, you and I and Harry, we're all old enough to remember what maybe investment advice might have been 40 years ago. Is it possible that a majority of those ideas around investment might still be true today? Or if we fast forward and say, what about 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago? Certainly the advice that an investor would have given you 10 years ago in terms of the basic framework of investment are still true today. So if I was going to republish something 10 years ago, I want to take into consideration what are those really timeless messages around what I'm doing. And that's really where I'm going to focus, because I don't want this to have a life that goes up to this week and dies next week. I want it to have a life that grows every single month for years to come. And so that's really kind of what I'm shooting at. And then a few other tips that I'd leave you guys with. There's a lot of ways to tweak content that you have on the web. So let's say I've done all of these things and I've created this really dynamic message. Most of the people who are going to find your stuff today are finding them on smartphones and these small devices. You take a title and you can go, I got a really catchy title. I'd say, well, catchy title is important, but maybe even more important to that is have a really striking thumbnail. That's that little postage stamp looking picture that you can add some text to and whatever, but you put it in there and the person who did the search sees your thumbnail. I would search your own content around its competition, and if your thumbnail doesn't stand out, change that immediately. Make sure that it does. Make somebody go, even if it's down there at 3 or 4, it's not the top spot, but make sure that it shows up, in the top of that window and that thumbnail, something really striking that makes somebody go, boom, that's what I want. And so anyway, think about Kevin, thumbnails.
Kevin,
go ahead.
Yeah, if you don't mind, couple of things. On the thumbnail thing, I use a free version of a program called Canva. It's like the word canvas, but Canva. And I looked up the specifications, and it's exact, right? I mean, it's like 2,900 wide and blah, blah, blah. So you have to kind of create the thumbnail that does that. And quite frankly, I need to do a better job at that. But at least I've started that journey with the thumbnail. Second question or observation is, and Carl, pitch in here. We had a conversation on Monday in rehearsal about number one, buying traffic, which you spoke to, and I want to clarify that. And then number two, how you will get busted by YouTube if you try to cheat on the number of views. So we'll put that one aside for a second. But Carl, you surfaced the conversation, if you don't mind, that Carl, you're interested in using paid media to drive traffic to YouTube. If you could restate that, and we'll have Kevin reply to that.
Yeah, one of the things that I discovered kind of accidentally is I put up one of those 30-second ads that, it's a video promoting my online community. And then, I use it as a YouTube paid ad, a Google, ad that shows up on YouTube. Well, they're not going to penalize me for that because they're selling it to me, right? But every time that somebody watches that ad, I get one more view on YouTube. And so I'm, on one hand, I am paying for it. On the other hand, they're not going to penalize me for it because they're the ones who sold that to me. But it really does improve your credibility when you suddenly have an extra 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 views for a 30-second video. Now, I have some longer videos that, nobody's going to watch a 30-minute video ad unless they're super interested. So those don't, I haven't bought any actual, serious traffic on that. But the 30-second video, man, it went through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, thoughts?
Yeah, to Carl's point, that is one of the ways in which you could create that actually results in a so-called paid view. But think about that. That's an advertisement that somebody is viewing that comes back to benefit your video channel as well. And that's very different than what I was talking about earlier. So you could definitely use that strategy to help bolster what you're doing on the web.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't go hire somebody in the Philippines to go watch every video on my channel and share it with all their friends. So
well, and that's actually my second question, Kevin, if you don't mind, is that back last summer when we had you on as a guest, you better described as to why you can't game the YouTube system, and nor would you want to game the system. If you want to quickly revisit that so we don't get wobbly with our morals and ethics.
Yeah. So there's what I was referring to when I mentioned this, that don't be tempted to buy results. There's all these, you can actually just Google them. Go in there like buying views or buying likes or buying comments. These are actually sites, which there's many of them that are out there that do this. And these actually aren't legitimate views. They aren't even what Carl was saying, that I wouldn't have my friend in the Philippines like view it and share it with all their friends. The reality is actually that could help. The interesting part is that though is hiring one of these firms that just take these, they're actually not even legitimate sites that they create or legitimate viewers that they have. People refer to them as bots or a lot of other things that are out there, but they aren't actual legitimate sites. So they aren't actual legitimate viewers that are viewing the content that you have. And it gets into this slippery slope very quickly. And like I said, it is picked up on analytics on YouTube and others. And if you want to tank your content, well, just start dealing with these paid outfits and try to buy the results. But what Carl was talking about is actually purchasing advertising, creating a video connected to an ad that is then viewed by viewers. That's a different thing altogether. And nothing wrong with doing that. That wouldn't be any different than if you created a video and then you launch like let's say a Facebook ad campaign that appears in people's feeds out there and has your video in there. You could say, well, am I technically buying the view? Well, I suppose. But anybody who clicks on that ad and then ends up seeing your video, that's as legitimate a view as anything that's found out there on the web. Yep. I want to talk just briefly on length of video, because this is actually one of the pieces of advice that I was given early on in producing video, and for me today is entirely untrue. So people would say that, your ideal time length, 60 to 90 seconds, make it as short as possible. And then other people started saying, well, maybe, up to 4 to 5 minutes, but man, don't go any longer than that because you just kill things. Well, here's the interesting thing. Do you know the videos that rank the highest right now on the web are videos that exceed 7 minutes of watch time? So what are the chances that your 5-minute video is ever going to get 7 minutes of watch time? Not going to happen. And here's you actually, even my sweet house, like with videos that are just really killing it on the web for me right now, are actually videos that sit between 10 minutes and 13 minutes in length. And those videos, well presented, like you look at what percentage of people who start the video and make it all the way to the end, if it's done well, your audience retention is rock solid through that video. And if you have a video that's 70% of it is watched, think of it being 10 minutes in length. If they watch 70% of it, you've already crossed that 7-minute threshold, haven't you? and you get another big chunk, that watches all the way to the end. That video can actually have less views, less comments, less likes, less everything, and still outrank another video in its category that supposedly is more successful, but the other video has a 2-minute watch time average on it, where your video has a 7 or 8 minute watch time. It will go right past that other video over time, simply because of its audience retention. So I try to create these stories that, like I said, are educational, informational, entertaining. If you can do all three of those in one message, that's stellar good. Hit as many of the learning styles as you can. Yep. Research the stories, write a good script for it, think about your hook, and then try to make that message as timeless as you can. There's nothing wrong with posting content around, hey, here's the update of what I've learned last week. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but just recognize that there's a lot of different lanes out there. And if you want your channel and your following to develop some permanence, put as many timeless material content up there. Yep. And here's a point too that I want to make sure that our audience doesn't miss out on. A lot of times when we're thinking about creating content on the web, we think about our personal area of expertise. So, each of us here on the broadcast has our lane of expertise, but there's other things that we might be exceptionally good at. And one of the examples, I was a former military training officer. So I created the basic training preparation steps. It's one of the top ranked videos in that category. Going, what does that have to do with your business model? I'd say nothing, but it also has 800,000 views, and people that have interest in that area look at that and they go, wow, that was really interesting. What else does this guy do? And that video has a 30% referral rate, meaning if 10 people that watch it, 3 of them click on the link, go to the channel and watch other videos that I have on the channel. So it's like a really cool thing. So I would say this: if you're a great cook, create a few cooking videos that you put out there. If you know a ton about cars, create some car advice. If you know a lot about construction, maybe create a few building projects. The thing could be endless. I was talking with a tax lawyer who was saying my subjects are really boring, and I asked him, what else do you do? And it turns out he's been sailing for 30 years. I was like, is there a chance you know how to do a fantastic setup on a sailboat so the thing doesn't capsize? You can teach people, proper tacking and all. He goes, absolutely. I was like, that might be one of your lanes. And think about how many people with money who tend to be his clients are interested in sailing, who might think it's really cool to have an accountant who also sails. It's like, there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this. So think outside the box and you'll discover all kinds of ways of creating content that can work on the web.
Now, that's actually a really good point, because Carl, I'll turn it over to you to have a dialogue here that you, in another realm, another business model you have is Relax, Focus, Succeed, which is California Cool. And have you done YouTube videos with that? Because that would be a different lane, as they say.
I've done a few Relax, Focus, Succeed videos, and it's actually one of those things that I'm hoping this year that I'll have the time to dedicate to that. The problem with Relax, Focus, Succeed, as you can imagine, is that it makes less money than talking about technology to technology gurus. So, I keep getting pulled back into the side that pays all the bills. Although last year I did speak, I had paid speaking gigs on 3 different occasions at tech events for Relax, Focus, Succeed. But yeah, the videos on that would probably be longer, which actually sounds like it would be more of an appeal all by itself. And so I will certainly be looking at expanding that.
Yeah, and then Carl, again, you and I can both ask the question and answer it, but it seems like with our audience of managed services providers and computer resellers, Kevin, to your point earlier about the how-to paradigm and also having evergreen topics, Carl, it seems to me you and I can weave this into some of our evangelical outreach in terms of how to print. how to, I mean, talk about an evergreen. Does that make sense, Carl, to kind of nudge our guys to the how-to world?
Well, we do some of the how-to, but I got to say, if I were a managed service provider, I would be putting out videos for my clients that are the most basic stuff. How to know where you plug in the internet, how to do a speed test, how to, like you say, how do you print? How do you set up a printer? And in the days when computers no longer have CDs, whatever it is, any little tip, because the beautiful thing about doing a how-to is that A, you are the expert, and B, if clients look at it and say, well, now I'm really educated and I don't want to do this, I'm going to call that guy who made the video, right? Let him do it. It seems like he knows a lot more about it than I do. One of the things when you do a how-to, if you give all these little bitty tips and you throw them all in there, people very clearly get the message that things are more complicated than they thought they were.
Right.
I'm going to give you guys something real quick, if you don't mind. There's actually several of these examples, but a local businessman 3 years ago had never done business outside of his county, always had to go, he's a home-based business, always had to go out and find his next client, do his installs, bill somebody, wait 30 days to get paid. All that sounds familiar as far as a given business model, and most people say we have no problem with that. But we launched some how-to content around his business about 2.5 years ago. And today, he does entirely an online business. He's not looking for any customers anywhere because they find him. He's not waiting 30 days on a billing because they prepay all the orders that come into him. And he has an absolutely robust business online and doing business in all 50 states and 17 other countries besides the United States. And it's kind of funny when I think back to when we were having these, I was urging him to do this actually probably for 2 years before he said, heck, let's try it. And when I think back to those days, he was just like, why would anybody want what I do outside of my own community? Because he was just thinking in that lane of, his installs and how he does things and everything else. It's just like, there's a whole new world out there to be discovered. Let's give this a shot and see what happens. And you call him today, he's always home. He's always he's never out there looking for business, and he's never billing anybody waiting to get paid and having, 20% of his billings sitting on 90 days, 120 days, whatever, never getting paid. He gets paid up front on every single order that lands on his desk. So how nice is that?
Exactly. Kevin, I know you're on a short leash today, and we appreciate your time. If maybe you want to leave us with anything, and at a minimum, talk to us about how people can find you on YouTube, what your claim to fame is, and I think you had several million hits on the video, but a little bit more about you so people can find you, and if you have any final talking points.
There's a lot of different platforms that I've used for launching content on the web. It's a interesting story. I kind of, by paying attention to what other people were doing in media, when I mentioned my media background goes back 20 plus years, by paying attention to what other nationally syndicated radio hosts were doing, and realizing that they were moving to this online segment, I decided in 2009 I had to give that a swing. So I've been doing the online stuff now for 10 years. I played with it a lot for probably the first couple of years that I was doing it, and then discovered this lane that I had opened up, and it created this snowball that started to roll. And here we are 10 years later, 68 million worldwide viewers on content I put on the web, and 220 countries and territories around the world. And it's just a fun thing. Once I've learned that mojo of how to put this all together, I can create 10 videos, and I guarantee you 7 of them will go viral, and all on its organics, just by understanding that whole piece. And those other 3 that might be sitting out there, in some cases, I might repost them, might retitle them, might do whatever, and I'll salvage half of those as well, simply because of just it went in the wrong lane when it was put up. But I can tell you that if you paid attention to the some of the things that I shared, which is really the secret sauce of creating successful video online, you'll see your stuff blow up and take on. So Kyle's put the video in the background. This is actually one of the outros on our show. You can email me at wainfo2017. The Gmail address actually comes directly to our broadcast desk. You can also call or text to 360-545-3501. Again, that's 360-545-3501. And we did just recently launch a bunch of tiers on Patreon, and the good kind of tiers. We did launch a bunch of tiers on Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/Northwest Digital News, if you're interested in having video produced for you, and you'd like somebody like myself, Kyle here, who's a tech expert in all the different things you'll need tech-wise to make this stuff work. Chris Bornstedt is also here on the broadcast in Northwest Digital News, a great ideas kind of guy. You can find out how to engage with us. So go to Patreon, and if you need something, need some help there, you can find some ways that we can engage with you in your business, and be glad to help you out. So
thank you, Kevin. And Kevin, I went off presenter mode. What was that phone number again? I'm putting it on screen for everybody.
360-545.
545.
3501. And you can call or text to that number. I'm glad to answer any of your questions or et cetera.
Okay.
So
feel free to reach out. Yeah, and your email address again, please.
WA, which is Washington, WA info 2017 @gmail.com. We use the Gmail there because it bounces to every single one of our devices here on the broadcast desk. So anything you send to us, all of us see it immediately. And so feel free to use that for our contact as well.
All right. And folks, be sure on screen number 2, go to YouTube, search on the name Kevin Hunter, and I would offer put auto, AUTO, or car. And Kevin, that's you'll forever be the car guy in my heart.
Well, you know what's interesting is even around, like, if you take auto finance and put that in there. I had somebody recently I was visiting with over the phone, and he's like, there's like 7 or 8 videos that came up there, and 5 of them are yours. I was like, yeah, that's how you dominate a space. All right. All
right. Well, hey, thank you, sir. And I'm going to see you, by the way, and I didn't tell the audience, but I'm going to be down at your studio just outside Portland, Oregon, next Tuesday when we do Tech Tuesday. So, folks, keep your eyes open. If you want to go to smbnation.com, look over in today's column. I believe it's under the analytics row, and you'll see yesterday's show with the IBM wrap. That's Tech Tuesday. Join us next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. I'll be live at the Northwest Digital News studio. Thank you very much, Kevin.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
All righty. So we now go to Carl. So, Carl, this is unique content, and I appreciate that. It's a lost art, my friend, when we revisit this topic a couple of times a year. I'm just a hack, and I copy paste press releases, but sir, you did real work here.
Well,
let me turn the talk to you.
I laid out after our conversation a couple days ago. There's a way that I generate my content and distribute it, and so I just sort of tried to diagram that in a way that makes some sense. So I have, as you can see, I have 4 different blogs. I do have a YouTube channel, and I do LinkedIn, both personal page and business page. And then I have Facebook. I have my personal Facebook, and I have business pages on Facebook for Small Biz Thoughts, Relax, Focus, Succeed, and then Instagram and Twitter. And so I will put content in each of those. So that middle section here is basically, that's where I might post something. I'll post a blog, I'll post something on LinkedIn, I'll post something on Facebook. And then for anything that's a blog, I use a thing called Symphony Tools, which used to be called networked blogs. And basically you line up all of your blog titles that you own, and you have to prove that you own them, put code on there, all that sort of thing. But then you line it up with your social media. And when I post a blog on Small Biz Thoughts, it automatically, within minutes, posts it onto my LinkedIn personal page and my business page. And it posts it to Twitter, and it posts it on the Facebook business pages. You can no longer automatically post stuff to your Facebook personal account.
That's right.
So, and that's just literally as of like a month ago.
And,
or maybe earlier this month.
Carl, broken APIs have killed many a startup out here in Redmond, Washington. It's true, but go on.
Yeah. And, you could probably automate some of this with if this, then that, or Zapier or something like that. But I don't even remember what Symphony tools cost. It's probably $30 a month or something. And so I guarantee when I post a blog, this blog goes here, here, here. This blog goes here, here, here. They all go exactly where I want them to go. And then I have a secret tool called Crystal, who's my administrative assistant. She lives in the Bay.
You were talking about Crystal Reports, because that's a black.
No. So what happens is that Crystal is my administrative assistant. She logs on and she monitors all of these things, including the YouTube channel. And then every once in a while, like having a webinar like this, I'll send her a graphic and a link and say, can you please promote that? And the standard thing, if I don't tell her to do anything else, is that she will repost each of these things on each of the media 8 days later, and then 8 days after that, 8 days after that, 8 days after that, until it's gone out, 8 times over the course of 2 months.
Yep.
So, you think you're spamming the universe, right? When people tell you, oh, don't keep posting the same stuff, blah, blah, blah. But one of the rules that you have to understand with social media is that 99% of the time, 99% of the people are not paying any attention to you. So, especially, Twitter and Instagram are the biggies where it is literally gone. If somebody doesn't see it within seconds, they are probably not going to see it unless somebody reposts it or says, you got to see this, and points people to it. So that's kind of what I do. And so the good part for me is obviously I pay for a tool, and obviously I pay for Crystal's time, but basically I produce content, and then the system then automatically echoes it for about 2 months. And I've also told Crystal, one of our rules is, because sometimes I get carried away, and you know me, sometimes I'll put up 4 posts in a day, or 4 blogs in over a couple of days. If there are more than 6 things on any given day, she just skips over it, right? So, I don't clog up the system too much. There are some safeguards.
Right.
So, I'm not saying this is perfect or that everybody should do this, but it is just the way that I do it, which I think is very reasonably priced and available to everybody. But, you should know that if all you do is post up on Instagram once a day, you're probably never going to get seen.
Yeah. Carl, couple of thoughts, and Jenny, please interrupt if we have a queue of questions. But on the Twitter thing, and I think you might have been on the webinar. Again, we revisit MSP marketing 2-3 times a year, and we try to keep it fresh. And so you may recall last summer, I had talked about Twitter. The reason Twitter's interesting, and I showed a screenshot, is, and in fact, guys, you can do it on screen number 2 right now, is go to Google and type in SMB Nation. And on a normal size screen, the results that are returned, hopefully it's the SMB Nation primary site is the first result. But above the pay line, you should see the Twitter thing I did today, the communication about Tech Tuesday and the IBM recap. And it should be above the pay line, so you don't have to do a page down. And so, Carl, that's the beauty, in my mind's eye, of Twitter, is the SEO capabilities, that it's highly searchable. It's like Wikipedia. Carl, if we type in your name, you have Wikipedia to the right. Wikipedia is highly searchable and always a page 1 result. And so is Twitter. And Twitter is typically above the pay line. And that's a beautiful thing to drive SEO.
Yes. Well, the other thing is, just so everybody's clear, Crystal doesn't repeat the same thing again and again and again. Like, she'll look at a blog post and she'll take a phrase, or she'll twist it or reword it 3 different ways. So you have to have somebody that they don't necessarily have to understand your business completely, but they have to understand the English language and, be smart enough to kind of take one phrase and say it three different ways, and move the vowels from the verbs and the nouns around, and because the other thing is you can get penalized on Twitter if you repeat the exact same posting again and again and again. They still will nuke you on that.
Yeah, exactly. And well, Carl, this is pretty self-explanatory. I want to respect your time because you're at lunch. Well, no, wait a minute. Or you're on Pacific time, so you're at lunch at the ASCII group event, and I don't want to keep you away from that. Any other final thoughts on this? This is the beautiful thing. It's so simple that I got it. Any final thoughts?
Just that, I think folks that say, oh, that's social media, that's not for me, and it takes too long and all that, you do need to put effort into it. But, it's
Imagine that.
Help is cheap and plentiful. So.
Yeah, and there's people that I believe will do this for you. You have Crystal, but isn't at some level, is it Jennifer Fields has built a business of implementing the Robin's kit? Is she in this line of work too?
I don't know that she does this kind of stuff, but there are certainly people who do. I mean, like I say, they are all over the place, and the main thing is to get somebody that you trust. My brother Manuel wrote a book last year, I guess, and he hired somebody who is in the Philippines who I think has a master's degree, and basically she posts up these little quotes from his book and paragraph summaries and that kind of stuff. And it's just a matter of finding somebody who you can work with and you trust them to present you the right way.
Yep. All right, my friend, we'll enjoy the ASCII group. Hey, Carl, final question. Are you a speaker today at the ASCII Success Summit, or are you an attendee?
I'm just a hanger out. So I got a badge here. I'm a member and an ambassador, and I'm hoping with that ambassador badge I can get my satchel through the airport without them inspecting it. So I think that's what I get with that. Let me know if I'm wrong by Friday.
Yeah, we'll tweet it, and we'll certainly know. Hey, thanks, Carl, and I'll see you. I think the next time we're going to intersect, I'm going to offer it's Channel Pro in Chicago in early May. Is that early May or early?
Okay.
I think, yeah, that's Channel Pro is in May in Chicago. Right?
Yeah, they're like the 3rd, I think, something like that.
All right, my friend.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. And now to the star of the show. No offense to our other panelists, but we have Kat. And Kat, thank you for being patient.
Of course.
Take it from the top, because some people would have joined at midpoint and they would not know who you are and what you've done. So let's rewind. Let's start over and tell us what you know to be true.
Sure. Okay. So my name is Kat, or Katriana. And I have a food blog on Instagram. It slowly turned into more of a health and wellness blog. I did a rebrand recently in early January. So I started it in September of 2017 as a food blog to document recipes, stuff like that, on a specific diet that I started. And then I didn't really take it seriously. It was just kind of I'll post. I don't really care. And then in March of 2018, I decided that I really wanted to grow my following, and I really wanted to take it seriously and develop good relationships. And so as of now, I have 10,232 followers, and I started with around 200 in March of 2018. So I grew by over 9,000 followers or 10,000 followers, since I'm at 10,200 followers in just the course of 11 months, all organically. Did not pay for anything, did not buy followers, did not do anything like that.
Cool. And let's talk about, and this is pretty self-apparent, and what's interesting, Kat, is this is a new conversation for our audience. As you know from your father, you have a kind of a sense of what our audience is. the computer guys and gals, for lack of a better phrase. We have a bunch of acronyms, and think Bainbridge Island, Bainbridge Technology Services down on Winslow Way back in the day. That's our guy. And what I want to talk a little bit about some, maybe we'll call it math. So let's talk about the follower to following ratio. Mine is, I mean, we see on the screen you have over 10,000 followers and almost 2,000 following. Well, let's take it straight up, and then I'll tell you my unique situation. So why do you have more followers than following, and should it always be this way from day one?
Okay, so when you're at day one, when you're just starting out on your Instagram, don't worry about the follower-following ratio at all. Don't even think about it, because ultimately the goal is to get people engaging with you. And if people don't know who you are, and people are going to know who you are when you follow them. That's the thing is I've seen many brands grow their brand by following people on Instagram who they thought were relevant to their blog. I can think of one that followed me when they were at 200 followers. They're a brand, a food brand, and they grew to 40,000 followers, and they're still following me. We have a great relationship, everything like that. But their follow to following ratio was way lower when they were starting out, because they were trying to get their name out. They were trying to get people to recognize, oh, this is a brand. They're prototyping. You know, they're trying to get the word out. So for your first, I would say up to 5,000 followers, I would not worry about the follower to following ratio too much. As you grow to more like 10,000 followers, I would try to keep the ratio under 30%. But even that, like if it's relevant accounts, if every account that you're following is engaging with you, then that doesn't really matter. If you have following, like the people that you're following that are applicable to your account and that are interesting to you and that provide inspiration or are useful to you or are good relationships, then I wouldn't worry too much about your follow to following ratio.
Okay, because yeah, my situation, and by the way, I'm gonna take this as a to-do and a must-do on my side. So I've learned today, but my following number is larger than my followers. So I'm still trying to figure this out. I'm going to go ahead and put some pedal to the metal and try and build my audience and do more following, and then hopefully the universe will return followers. And I do see a role for personal brand building for Instagram. Kat, I'll tell you, and you'll get this, an interesting example. And I'm live on screen, so guys, and Kat, you're welcome to do this. Go to Instagram, and in fact, here I can do it on my phone. I forgot. Instagram is primarily a phone vehicle, although you can get to it from the web. But I think I can do this. Hold on, guys. I want to do a little uncle bragging, but I want to make a point at the same time. So here we go. And wow, I thought, Kat, you're right there with my nephew Nick. Kat, can you see that screen? If you could help me, I'm holding it to the camera.
11.6K and 3,307, right?
Right. And so that's my nephew Nick. His stage name is Nick B, but he's the #2 man in Macklemore's band. He's been with Macklemore 2.5 years. He just spent the last weekend in Dubai doing a concert. He's 26. He's living the dream. I hope he's going to buy my sister a house like an NBA rookie. But Kat, what's interesting about that? First of all, I thought his number was closer to 30,000. So my compliments to you, because Nick has the benefit of being in front of a lot of people all the time at these shows, right, with 10,000 people. I'm going to show you. So here they are his tour last year. He's doing he posted up a historic photo. This is Macklemore. It's hard to see, but Macklemore's doing the famous song Willy Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
The orange right there, and then Nick is right above him. It's hard to see, but he's the DJ and the dancer behind him. But Kat, what I'm really trying to say, and yes, I'm bragging on Nick, and he's always on the road. God bless him, but 476 likes. So I want to talk about that. When I go to Nick's page, and he's in Dubai, and there he was in London, living the dream. So he's got now 11,000 followers, and when he posts up anything, he'll get a few hundred likes. I've seen him easily north of 600 or 700 likes. Now, he's literally a rock star, literally. And do you have any words of wisdom on the number of likes that you get on your post, other than there's a little bit of ego, there's a little bit of heart, there's a little bit of feelings? I know, like, when I get over 10 likes, I'm like, man, I nailed it.
Oh yeah, and it is kind of like Instagram crack to get like all those likes. Like, sometimes when I post a photo, I'll be like, oh my gosh, how many likes did I get in the first hour? Like, oh my gosh, I got a like a minute. Like, oh wow, actually, to speak on that, just a little hack to know. Instagram, the way Instagram determines how viral some content is how many engagements it gets in the first hour. So the first hour is really the most important in getting all those likes and getting all that engagement, in order to be featured within hashtags. I found that when I had significant engagement within the first hour and I used hashtags, the hashtags that you want to use are actually the ones that have between 5 and 6 figures, not the ones with millions of figures. Because when you have hashtags that have millions and millions and millions of posts, you're less likely to have it featured. Like, for example, I posted a meme once, and I'm on the ketogenic diet, so I did hashtag keto meme. And I posted it in like November, and I went on hashtag keto meme the other day, and in the top results, if you scroll down a little bit, my post from November is still there. So, and that drastically increases visibility. So the first hour is really important. Another way to boost engagement, I don't know how many people know this, but really it's about engagement numbers, not about the number of followers you have. For example, if somebody has 14,000 followers and 0.6% engagement, you're going to be more likely to want to partner with somebody who has 7,000 followers and 4% engagement, because it's more like, even though the sheer number of followers is lower, the number of people who are seeing your content is almost double. So it's not a follower number thing necessarily. Okay. It's how much you're engaging. Within the first hour, and also like going on, I make sure to respond to every single comment I get. And that's a super easy way to boost engagement as well.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yes. So, because Instagram doesn't care if you're the one commenting. You can easily double the amount of comments you have just by responding to every single comment. Even if it's just, if somebody posts an emoji on your page or says good job and you respond like, thanks so much, that's still engagement. Another thing about Instagram, sorry, I keep on just yammering on.
Well, no, go. That's good. I'm learning.
So another thing about boosting engagement within that first hour, comments are really counted when it's 4 or more words, not including emojis. So Instagram doesn't punish you, but if it just says like good pic, they don't really count it as a comment or as a real engagement, because they're assuming that person isn't really thinking about your post, isn't really, contemplating what is on your content. And so 4 or more words, or trying to respond in 4 or more words, is an easy way to boost engagement as well.
Next question. And I am looking, by the way, Nick is pretty good about responding to the comments. Here, he got a comment from somebody, and he says, "I miss you." So I don't know if Nick has been trained or he just is from your generation, and this is what you do. I can tell you this, that given the nature of his profession, he is in a good position to get a high number of likes in the first hour, right? Because that would be rock star on stage,
Oh, yeah.
woohoo! He is in a good position to do that. Now, my next question is if we go to Nick, and oh wow, there's Carl Palachek just posted something.
Oh, cool.
So well, I'm going to like it. Carl has one like. Folks, everybody go to Instagram and look up Carl and give him a little love. I just did. But Kat, my question on Instagram is, Nick has a story, and a story stays up for several seconds, or a story does this, or a story does that, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of his. You get the point. And he appends the story, and it goes to the next frame, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
What are stories, and why do I care?
Okay. So stories, I actually utilize stories quite a bit. Stories are, they're only available for 24 hours.
Yep.
They're kind of like Instagram posts in that you can like post a video or post a selfie, or Instagram has created a new feature where you can share a post on your story, and then they can click on the post. Which is good. You can also shout out people on Instagram. A lot of the people that I do brand partnerships with are interested in stories, and so I'll do the vast majority of my unboxing videos on my Instagram stories. I will also do, like quick shout outs like, oh, hey, I'm using this product right now. Like something that's not worthwhile to post on your Instagram permanent newsfeed, like, oh, I'm having a cup of coffee with this brand, like that's not going to get a lot of engagement on your newsfeed. But somebody who is, just scrolling through stories might find it interesting. And I found that people like click on the links when you shout out brands. You can, there are people who are interested in clicking the links. So I utilize stories quite a bit for brand shout outs. When you get 10,000 followers or more, you get the swipe up feature, which I'm super stoked about. It's a very new thing for me, and I'm very excited about it. It allows you to, instead of just saying like, go to this link, because you can't include links in your Instagram posts or in your stories. Unless you have 10,000 followers, you can swipe up and it'll go to that link. So I actually posted about MSP Tech Talk, and over the course of 24 hours, I didn't do any promoting. I didn't use any hashtags on the story or anything like that. I had about 200 views, and I had 14 people swipe up. So, that's great.
Well, yeah, and I have a question, and then I think out of respect for time, we're going to move on. Kat, I hope you can stay on the line, though. Very interesting, and we're going to bring you back to double-click down into this topic. But here's my final observation. Let me see if I can do this, guys. I'm, the law of demos, Kat. But Kat, while I'm trying to do this, and let's see, I want to find my story, and when I click, it wants me to create a new story, and the camera goes on. Let me go to myself. Maybe I can find my story over here. I did. Kat, is for right or wrong, I built my career as a public figure, a personality surrounding Small Business Server. Your father was part of that journey, and again, that's good and bad. It's good to be a key man, as we call that. It's bad when the product goes away, or if a key man gets hit by a truck. And I haven't been hit by a truck, but Small Business Server went away. So it's good and bad, but I got to ride the horse that I have, and that's how I built my company. And so I tend to use Instagram for more personal posts. I'm going to explore a business account and so on, but I'm using this for brand building to give people the full Harry. And part of the full Harry, let me see if I can do this, is I like to brag about my bike riding in Strava. And Strava will post to Instagram or a story. And the reason, and it's just now showing you some brags, and the reason I did that is my two sons, Kat, you know Jeff, I think you know Harry, and
Yep.
they don't like me to brag. They are tired of my Strava bragging and my workout post. And so, Kat, what I decided was, well, fair enough. Why don't we make that a 24-hour story? I still get my go juice. It actually helps me get out to ride my bike, knowing that I'm going to take a picture and there's an Instagram story on the other side, woohoo! I mean, whatever it takes, man. Does that make sense, though, that here's something that's a little more personal, and maybe I don't want it to be memorialized in a permanent fashion, but Kat, I don't know what I'm doing. That's my story.
Well, sure. That actually, that sounds exactly like what some people do. Some people are like, ooh, getting my daily Starbucks or something like that. Some people, there's one account that I follow who literally goes to Starbucks every single day and she posts what she orders. And there are people who eat it up in their stories. She doesn't post it on her regular Instagram, but it's just something that's small that people can respond to. So yeah, I think I would consider your stories to be a great place to continue doing that, to continue to add a personal touch. I love adding little personal touches too, featuring my cat, featuring my boyfriend if I want to.
I get it.
Things that don't belong, things that aren't necessarily part of my brand per se.
Yeah, and Kat, what I would tell you is that because I have a personal persona and a professional persona, so LinkedIn is, of course, professional, and I let myself out to play on Instagram and Facebook a little bit more. But Kat, stick with us. I'm going to move on. We want to give a shout out to our community sponsor who makes this possible with Fortinet. And folks, while you're giving the screen the attention it deserves, if you could avail yourself of our new community. It's called Microsoft 365 Nation, and it's a brand extension. Those that have been in the SMB Nation community know that we roll with Nation. We get the trademark, we get the domain name. So we got Azure Nation, we got Telefonation for voice over IP. Of course, the big brand is SMB Nation. We made a run at Cloud Nation as a startup vehicle in 2011. And now, 10 days ago, we just launched M365nation.com or Microsoft365nation.com. And our pillar coverage is security. So, we're going to cover the 365 product stack, no doubt about it. We're going to cover it. To some extent, we're retiring Office 365 Nation and morphing that over. We've got 37,000 people who participate in that world, and we're pushing them over to M365 Nation because Microsoft 365 has three components. It has O365 in the product stack. Really cool, it has the desktop. Okay, so now we're talking Windows, and we're talking Windows 7 end of life next January. It's February. You got 11 months to think about that. And then finally, we're talking security. So we launched with a security pillar. And I would ask of you on the line today, it's complimentary, if you wouldn't mind going over to M365nation.com, signing up for either the premium membership or community membership. They're both free. It's just that premium, once we get our mojo, you're going to get invited to Beer Fest and other cool things. And then, Jenny, I believe we have a video from Fortinet, correct me if I'm wrong, that we'll take a short break and hear from our community sponsor, and then we'll come right back for my presentation.
For your business to run and make the digital transformation, your network needs to be secure. And because of today's complex network architectures, you've deployed individual security solutions from different vendors. But this complicated patchwork of solutions leaves gaps in your security and compromises its effectiveness. Your response to your complicated network needs to be simple, not complex. Sound impossible? It has been. Until now, Fortinet has security solutions for all parts of your network, designed to work together as a simple, integrated security fabric with a single management interface. The Fortinet Security Fabric is broad, integrated, and automated, meaning it protects your whole network from IoT to the cloud from all threats by sharing intelligence in real time, and can even integrate third-party solutions. The Fortinet Security Fabric is a simple architectural approach that finally allows for network security without compromise.
Pat or Jenny, just confirming you can see my screen, please.
Yep, Harry, we can see your screen.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Just want to make sure I'm not talking to the empty chair. So, folks, we're going to move on. I have an update for you in terms of our marketing motion that essentially mimics the workflow of a publisher. I'm going to go pretty quick because I'm going to double click into this and I'm going to double click into the Death Star, probably summer quarter, winter quarter. We'll get Kat and Kevin and myself back for marketing in summer quarter, and I'll go into the Death Star and so on. But here's today's speech, folks. Is we have talked on several occasions about a marketing as a service motion that we have called Pivot, and it essentially mimics and extends the expertise of publishers. That's what publishers do, and I've gone over this slide in the past. This is, roughly the 10 thing that publishers do, but I want to make it a little more real. We are working with an MSP right now who has a handful of employees, and he's out in the land of, and I'm going to get this part wrong, Puxtawani Phil, the groundhog that did not see his shadow, which means spring should be early, but with 200 million under storm conditions today across the U.S., we can argue if, in fact, the groundhog is predictive in the world of analytics. But it sure is a lot of fun in early February when it does that. But my MSP lives right in that area. We have taken a 100-mile radius, and we're engaging in the pivot motion with him. And so the theme, it's a 90-day program. And the theme is that we have a variety of tactics to drive people to an event on day 90. So on day 90 in his community, he is going to have a pizza, lunch, and learn. And the idea would be that all the work we're doing over the next 90 days, and by the way, we formally launch March 1st, so we've been setting up the form to accept leads and attendees. We've written the blogs on spring cleaning and data hygiene. So we're rolling with a data theme, and that all launches March 1st. So stick with me. We're going to use search. We're going to use Kat, your dad, Andres, is on our team, and we're doing a list buy, and it's targeted to specific SIC codes, in this case in the healthcare industry, which we think should take backup very seriously, if for no other reason than compliance reasons. And we're targeting slightly larger entities in the healthcare field. So Kat, your dad has waved his magic wand and come up with a list of 10,000 names. And these people are going to receive an oversized postcard. And guys, direct mail is still not only relevant, but I would offer highly effective when combined with other tactics. So search, direct mail, cold calling, the people that you mailed the postcard to, mail a second postcard, yada, yada, go knock on their door, etc. And so we're going to use all these tools to get people to the MSP website to fill out the form and not only download an ebook, which is based on the 3 blogs, so yet another tactic, but also attend the pizza lunch and learn on day 90. And by the time we get that level of engagement with a buyer from the healthcare sector, what we're saying is we got them to mid-funnel. Okay, we've hit them a couple times with different messages and tactics. We drove the traffic to the page to get the sign up. They are committed to coming to get a free piece of pizza. And then it's up to the MSP, right? We did our job as a publisher to drive the traffic and get them to fill out the form. And now it's up to the MSP to close them. And the offer has to be delicious. The product has to work, and it all has to make sense. And in this case, again, we're talking about a sophisticated backup and disaster recovery solution. And so it has to be an area that has an on-prem IT function as well as cloud. So this would be hybrid. B, they have the financial resources to do this. And then 3, they need to do it. And that's why I love niches and I love compliance areas, because there's a built-in need. It's a little bit of a must-do. We are not as excited out of the gate with this program with other sectors where a couple of those variables are absent. I'll give you an example would be construction and building. And while you could argue that sector of the economy is still healthy, what I don't like about construction and I do like about healthcare is there are cyclical effects. And so, boy howdy, we're hoping those tariffs in China do not drive up the cost of construction material 30, 40%, because that is predictive, that will impact that sector, as well as interest rates and other things. But with healthcare, we're not getting any younger, and I'll just leave it at that. With that said, Jenny, let's do a sanity check. We kind of checked off the report card for the topics today. Jenny, give me a hands up if we have questions. I can appreciate yes or no, and I will then take us into final thoughts.
We are at final thoughts.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem, folks. So with our final thoughts today, back to our schedule. Well, first of all, we'll be back next Thursday with best practices. So next Thursday is a webinar. You're going to hear about that. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next MSP Tech Talk. Really excited about March 20th, Women in Technology panel. And we have a lady at IBM, an executive, just committed to being on that panel. That's March 20th. And then finally, I'm going to roll back to the updates. Just coming off IBM Think. By the way, give IBM a second look. They're doing some really cool primary research in analytics and AI. See Carl at Channel Pro Atlanta. See me at Ingram Cloud around March, don't have it in front of me, March 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere in there in San Diego. I really want to see you at South by Southwest. And then I'll keep you posted on other things. Kat, I'm going to let you take us out with an observation. From your generation, and I mean that respectfully, are you familiar with South by Southwest in Austin, Texas? It seems like the kind of thing that would potentially be something you would recognize. Is that fair?
Yes, I am very familiar with South by Southwest, and I'm very familiar. Well, Austin is becoming like millennial town of Texas. So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, thank you for the affirmation. And Kat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the barber I want a man bun. Okay. Okay. So, Mr. Barber, let's lose the corporate look. We're going man bun. We're going to Austin. I'll see you at South by Southwest. Kat, thank you so much. Jenny, thank you in the radio control room. Everybody have a fantastic day. You're going to receive the thank you notice from Jenny in 24 hours with the replay link. And Kat, again, welcome to the team. We're going to have you back.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
All righty. Bye-bye.